There's your mutton chop murderer! Stop, fiend!
That was the Simpsons version of Jack the Ripper, who we will be talking about further down on this list. Hey guys, welcome back to the Most Amazing Top 5. I'm Court McGinley. Let's jump right into our list of the top 5 evil people who were never caught. Starting in our number 5 spot, Frank, John, and Clarence. If you're familiar with stories from Alcatraz prison, then these names probably ring a bell. Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin were prisoners at San Francisco's Alcatraz maximum security prison. This prison was home to some of the most dangerous criminals, and it was said to be impossible to escape. Well, believe it or not, these men managed to break free. Morris, along with the Anglin brothers, plotted their daring escape for years before they actually carried out their plan on June 11, 1962. They crawled through air vents to reach the prison's roof, and then they shimmied down a large smokestack, and then once they were on the ground, they ran to the shoreline and they never looked back. What happened to the men beyond this point is a mystery. The guards of the prison like to say that the men drowned in the swirling currents of the San Francisco Bay before they were able to reach freedom. A manhunt was set into place, but the bodies were never found. On top of that, FBI investigations did conclude that even though the water was cold and the currents were strong, it was theoretically possible for one or more of the inmates to make it to land. Since the escaped family members of the inmates have claimed to have received phone calls and Christmas cards from these men on the run, very much implying that they are alive. In 2018, the FBI confirmed the existence of a letter allegedly written by escapee John Anglin, and this forced them to reopen the investigation into the case. The letter was received by the San Francisco Police Department in 2013. The start of the letter says, "My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962 with my brother Clarence and Frank Morris. I'm 83 years old and in bad shape. I have cancer. Yes, we all made it that night, but barely." The letter goes on to say how Frank died in 2008 and Clarence died 3 years later in 2011. In at number 4, the Honolulu Strangler. The Honolulu Strangler, who is also known as the Honolulu Rapist, was Hawaii's first known serial killer. He killed 5 women between 1985 and 1986. To this day, the killer has not been identified. As the killings went on, the police established a 27-person task force with help from the FBI. There was one person in particular who the police believed was responsible for this act, but with no witnesses willing to come forward, the police were forced to let him go. At number 3, the Doodler. The Doodler is an unidentified serial killer believed to be responsible for 14 murders and 3 assaults between January 1974 and September 1975. His attacks took place in San Francisco, and his victims were always men in the gay community. He would meet his victims at nightclubs or in other gay-friendly hotspots in the city. 3 of his victims survived. But since helping the investigation would out them essentially to the public, they chose not to testify against the suspect in court. But they did give a detailed description of the killer to the police, and this is the composite sketch that they came up with. The killer's name, the Doodler, was given to him because he had a habit of sketching his victims prior to killing them. Something that also linked the killings was his consistent method, where he would stab the victims in the front and the back of their bodies. Even though so many years have passed, this case is currently still open and ongoing in the San Francisco Police Department. In at number 2, Jack the Ripper. Over a century ago, London's most notorious serial killer roamed the East End. His main prey were prostitutes, and he killed at least 5 women that we know of. This neighborhood set into panic as these bodies were found within a 3-month period of each other in 1888, all within a mile of each other. Newspapers listed these killings as barbaric and too horrible to even describe. But basically, all of the victims had their throats slashed, and most of them had their stomachs slit and organs ripped out before the body was dumped on the street. His motive is still unknown. The FBI took a special interest in the case in 1988 at a request of a movie production company. Even with everyone in law enforcement looking into the case, the police were never able to put a face to the killer. The FBI noted that had we had the current technology we have today back then, then it would have been possible to catch this person. One really key fact about this killer is the notes he left behind. The National Archives obtained letters exchanged between different law enforcement bosses in 1888, when all of these murders were first happening. The killer sent these letters to the London Metropolitan Police Service to taunt them and suggest that more murders were coming. Over the years, many people have speculated the identity of Jack the Ripper, but no one was ever prosecuted. So it looks like he took the secret secret to his grave. This makes him one of England's most famous unsolved mysteries, and one of the world's most infamous criminals. There was only one person to ever come close to naming the culprit, and that was author Russell Edwards, who in 2014 claimed he could prove the identity of Jack the Ripper based on DNA from a shawl that belonged to one of the female victims. The DNA points to Aaron Kosmicki, who was a Polish immigrant, and actually one of the prime suspects of the gruesome murders, but again to this day nothing has been verified. And in at number 1, the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer has a total of 5 confirmed murders, but it's expected that he killed an additional 20 to 28 people, and he wounded 2 others. All of these murders took place in the San Francisco Bay Area between the late 1960s and early 1970s. This killer's identity is still unknown to this day. All of these killings, and yet no one has been charged for them. Once the murders began, the killer started to taunt the police and the local paper, the San Francisco Chronicle, by sending them a total of 4 letters. They all contained these encrypted messages which were pretty much impossible to crack. Out of all of these messages, only one has ever been deciphered. And while these letters were taunting, they did contain a number of leads. In fact, for a while, a man named Arthur Lee Allen was the name on the top of the suspect list. However, handwriting experts were unable to match his handwriting to the cipher or various letters. Over the years, people have come forward claiming to know the killer's true identity, but so far nothing has been proven through the court. So this man just got away with these killings and then disappeared into the night. Alright, and on that note, there you have it. That's our list of the top 5 evil people who were never caught. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what other lists you'd like to see down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our awesome channel and give this video a big thumbs up, and I will catch all of you in the next one.